Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Cherry Chen, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey. This podcast dives into the real world of nonprofit leadership, sharing inspiring stories, experiences, and the truth about what it takes to operate a nonprofit successfully. Think of this as your mastermind session on the go. Now, let's get to today's episode. Today, we're diving into the world of nonprofit leadership with none other than Jason Burggraaf, Executive Director of the Greater Ottawa Homebuilder Association, also known as GOHBA. Jason's journey is nothing short of inspiring. From studying political science at Carleton University to volunteering on Parliament Hill to turning GOHBA from a one-staff member organization during the pandemic, because almost all his staff left for various reasons, to leading GOHBA, winning the prestigious Homebuilder Association of the Year. And he himself winning the Executive Officer of the Year at the Canadian Homebuilder Association Leadership Awards. Jason's story is a masterclass in dedication, strategy, and resilience. So I'm excited to dive into our conversation today, where we'll explore Jason's journey, his insights on having the opportunity to build his organization from the ground up, strategies that he used to increase his membership revenue by 33%, and his personal hacks on maintaining his work-life balance. So without further ado, let's welcome Jason Burggraaf to the Unfiltered Nonprofit Podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Nonprofit. Today I have the honor to interview Jason Burggraaf from GOHBA, Greater Ottawa Homebuilder Association. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Cherry, for having me on.
Yes, can you tell us a little bit about you, yourself, and then your journey to join the nonprofit world?
Yeah, sure. I was originally born and raised in Newfoundland.
Oh.
I came to Ottawa to go to Carleton and really kind of get into politics. Like I was that youth parliament kid. Like I was heavy into politics at the time and came to Ottawa with the idea kind of in the back of my head of being like a Hill staffer. Not a politician by any means, but someone kind of in the background there, working away at kind of public policy.
Yeah.
So I went to Carleton. I did political science there, and did some volunteering on the Hill to kind of build that experience and what have you. Did my courses. Was really quite happy with it overall. Once I got out, I did a few retail jobs originally, but then I managed to land some contract work. The very first one was with the Canadian Cancer Society, which just a few months, right? But it helps out, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, I got on at the Canadian Home Builders Association, so the national level of our association. It was hired on as a secretary. Did that for about a year and a half-ish, and then was asked to become the EA to the Chief Operating Officer, who was the head staffer at the Canadian Home Builders Association. Did that for almost 10 years, and then before he retired. And then his predecessor, the person who followed him, asked me to kind of formally take on the government relations and a role there, which wasn't a formal kind of role. But they asked me to do that. And then about 5 years into that, my predecessor at the Greater Ottawa Home Builders Association retired. And by that time, I was sort of ready. I had obviously, by that point, 15 years into the National Association, I had interacted a lot with, local builders. I knew a few people who were, whose base of operations was Ottawa. I knew that was a fantastic kind of job that I wanted. And I think a lot of people who get into public policy, as I do, I think kind of the ultimate goal often is kind of run your own shop, right? And I thought for the longest time that would be like, maybe an NGO or a small charity or something, but you want to make it, you want to have a spot that you can make your own. And I think, luckily for me, that like the timing sort of all worked out. I was ready at the time when Greater Ottawa needed a new executive director, and luckily was the one who got chosen to do that. And that was just over 6 years ago now.
Wow!
So it's been well over 20 years in sort of the advocacy and policy side of home building, and on the kind of the nonprofit administrative organizational end as well.
Well, I mean, you must be doing a great job. Congratulations on winning the Home Builder Association of the Year.
Thank you.
Yeah, this particular year too. So you mentioned that it's been about 5-year journey.
Yeah.
From you start to now winning the Home Builder Association of the Year, which is a great honor. How many associations are in competition?
Well, I don't know how many say applied in that one particular year, but there's over 50 associations across municipal-based associations across the country, and they're all certainly eligible to do so. So it was really nice to receive that recognition of kind of the hard work that the team and I have been kind of putting in over the past few years.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Well, I heard that it wasn't an easy journey.
No. So back in about early 2021, so we're kind of into the pandemic a little, and mostly working from home. But eventually, at one point, I found myself to be the only person on staff at the association. So when I got hired, there were 3 other staffers. 2 were close to retirement, and then eventually did, and then 1 moved on to work for a builder, and a member of ours, which happens on occasion. I'd like to think we hire good people. That happens sometimes. So I found myself by myself for a moment. I really was for about a week really worried about how I was going to how we were going to manage, and how we were going to find people and everything else. But what ended up happening was it kind of gave me the opportunity to really sit down and I kind of go back to schooling on public administration, which I had also kind of kept doing in public administration and voluntary sector management. I had kind of kept doing certificates on the side, which was very blessed that CHBA kind of would allow me to kind of continue that professional development. But one of the things kind of for strategic planning and checking, working on the roles that you have within your organization, they say to do is, sit down and write out the roles as you think they need to happen for what you want to achieve, and not think about the people who are going to occupy those roles, right? Don't think about, that person's already in marketing or whatever else, right? And because, of course, I didn't have anybody else, it actually allowed me to really go from a blank slate to say, what are the things I want to achieve at GOHBA? What are the resources, particularly human resources, people, but what are the jobs that I think we actually need to lay out and the scope of work for each individual in order to achieve that. So I got to, sit down a blank slate and do that out. And then sort of just was able to kind of be like, okay, let's find somebody for this role and then this role and then this role. And it's, that allowed us to kind of do that. Found people that we were really happy with, that I really wanted to, work as a team and kind of very, very flat structure. Because I've got my own policy and advocacy responsibilities over here, right? The kind of running the organization is kind of is only a portion of the main responsibility that I kind of have. So we needed people that could operate very autonomously. And feel empowered to kind of make the right decisions, both for what's best for their position and make their work effectively, and for what's best for the association overall, right? So those people, luckily we have a good team where those people can operate like that, and that is so it kind of from that seed of starting with a blank slate of those roles and how I wanted it to see, we've kind of we find the right people to fill those roles. One role took a number of people to kind of find the right person for, and we kind of slowly build over the time of getting them used to their roles, getting that capacity up, again allowing them to make the decisions that they feel is best. Like I'm not the best person on membership engagement necessarily. Yep. I'm not an expert on CRMs. I'm not an expert on whatever. Yeah. You got to kind of find the right people for that, and then tell them, go ahead. I defer to you. I do say that a lot to them because that's why they're there, right, to make those decisions. So we kind of build up, and develop that capacity and that team to the point where, this year then we get recognized for being the HBA of the year. So it really was kind of a journey from that first step of a blank slate, saying, okay, what are the jobs that we actually need to do?
Yeah, literally, it's blank slate. So, kudos to you to hire. To me, I call those right people, right seat.
Yes.
Yeah, like having the skill set to do the job that you want them to do, and sharing essentially the same values as well, because you need to believe in the cause that you are advancing. And having these people in the right seat is not easy. Finding those people, interview is always, kind of rosy, because you present the best you can during the short period of time that we're together. Do you have any screening tips for people who are trying to hire?
Yeah.
I gather that you write down exactly what you want this person to do. And that's the one tip that I gathered.
Yes, and in a very practical sense, I think job descriptions are often usually kind of nebulous, and it very the skills you ask for are almost transferable to every single one, right? And all credit in the world to the very first person that I hired to be our membership and business development person. I'll just say Sula as a nice shorthand to reference her, because she was the first one that I hired, that I went out for that job and hired. And it was certainly, she had all the qualifications, surpassed anybody else. On a little tangent of when I was gathering resumes for this job, hers was kind of the one that stood head and shoulders above the rest. And I was laying out, okay, am I going to call 3 or 4 people? What I'm going to do? Yeah. And I said, okay, no, clearly, I need to talk to Sula first. And if I got to only talk to Sula, and then if Sula's the one, then, I'll go with her. Yeah. I got to know if she's in or out before I can even think about anybody else, because I didn't, she was the one that I wanted. And that, what really struck me about that one is the kind of the instant rapport that we had. Because again, I try to work very much in a team, a very flat kind of flat organizational structure, and just kind of being one of the crew. And me and her kind of just hit it off, right? And I think that's also been a big focus and a big influence from her in terms of the hiring, the people then after that of, yes, the skill set, but especially who's going to work well with the team that we have, right? And that's a big portion of it, as well as, you have some base skills that you come in with. You can certainly learn things. You can learn in different CRM systems. You can learn, on QuickBooks Online if you have any bit of background to it, right? But can you, the teamwork and interacting with the others, in the office, if you can't get along with those people, it's never going to kind of work. So it's really the integration of the personalities, I think, is one of the biggest things that. Again, skills are important for sure, but I would actually value, what your perception that someone's going to be able to integrate well into the team that you have is the most critical thing.
I'm going to ask really specific.
Please.
And is there a specific test that you do? I wouldn't say we do this personally in our business. We do have personality tests, the DISC profile. We do that,
right?
Mostly to see if, hey, we're hiring an accountant and we need someone to be detail-oriented, systematic. We can't have someone who's the opposite. And that's really what that is for. It's not for cultural fit by any means.
Right.
But is there anything specific that you would ask or look for when it comes down to testing if someone has the right mindset and culture and values that's compatible to your existing team?
I have to admit, I don't have anything super specific other than lunch. We typically have kind of done a first round of interviews where I've talked to somebody and then that the second time around typically is let's have lunch or something, right? And have a more and usually with Sula and whomever else and have a more just a free flow conversation of, is that person engaged? Is that person do they exhibit a lot of an eagerness to kind of get into the work? Do they have any do they proffer their own ideas right away? Which is I love that sort of thing. Like I think interviewees are very impressive, I think, when they come in and be like, here are some things I would want to do, like in this role, right? Maybe not necessarily, the person might not necessarily agree with you all the time, or the boss that you'll have, but it shows a lot of ingenuity, right, and a lot of proactiveness to be like, here's how I think I can improve things and do it better. And my God, who doesn't want that as an employer?
Yeah, absolutely. So to qualify to win this GOHBA award, HBA award, you also mentioned that your membership has increased by 33% over the last 2 years.
Yes.
How did you do that? Because based on the OX result, the survey result that we did, a lot of people are seeing the decline in terms of membership. So they're seeing the stress. And they see the increase, but they're seeing that they're projecting that in the future it's going to decline because of the inflationary pressure and all these economic downturn rumor or actual economic downturn, I can't say. How did you manage to increase membership?
So we did a really big focus on membership development and engagement as like a primary role. So that the Sula, the person I mentioned before, when I carved these roles out, that was the sole role was to, again, engagement and development. That was, she didn't have to run committees. She didn't have to do this, that, or the other thing. Or her job was to kind of schmooze and talk to people. And so it's been a primary focus for us. We set up the organization around that sort of thing. And to kind of do that. And one of the critical reasons why is, growth and the size of your membership kind of gives you standing, right? It's the larger voice you can kind of have in terms of your membership, right? The bigger presence, especially for an industry association like us. I appreciate a charitable organization or other nonprofits might not necessarily have the same goal, but for us, we wanted a bigger voice in terms of the public policy discussion around housing in Ottawa, especially. And to do that, you kind of need to represent a big constituency. So that was kind of a big focus. We have kind of our pots of memberships that we kind of divvy out, on a spreadsheet. But it was, we needed more, and we needed kind of engagement from those new members as well. But she also did a lot of focus on kind of increasing engagement in the members that we had. Like a lot of people are members on paper sort of, but don't typically come out to events or they don't participate in committees or what have you. So it was important for us to also get more engagement from them. The other big thing that Sula really pushed, and again, here where I was, I defer to you because you are the expert in this area, is social media, especially LinkedIn. For an industry association, for us, we're on other platforms, but LinkedIn is the one, that's our clientele, right? Is home builders, suppliers, manufacturers, everyone involved, renovators, and the vast majority of contacts are going to be on LinkedIn, on that professional kind of, on the professional side of things. So we invested in terms of her time, and then also, let's engage a part-time social media manager to kind of do those kinds of posts that really, that promote events and promote the things that we accomplish and in the awards and stuff like that, to get out to, that was the best audience for us, right? To contact them and to get out and get us out in front of them so that they could be like, hey, there's something interesting going on over here. And in and then they reach out, and most of our new membership has been through, they first saw us on LinkedIn.
Oh wow!
Right, and we're not paying for boosting posts or or anything. Like it's just the organic growth, but it's just the time and the effort, it just consistently to push that. And maybe your audience isn't LinkedIn, maybe it's one of the other ones, right? Depending on what you do, for sure. But it's consistent presence and pushing that out and investing investing some time and effort into it. It's not someone's sixth priority, right, on their job description to be the Twitter person, right on top of it. And trust me, I appreciate it. That was my mindset for the longest time. And it was very much of, no, if we want to do this, right, this is the group to reach out to. So I said, again, I defer to you. Let's do it. And that's certainly where the vast majority of our growth has come from.
Wow. Very, very interesting. You also told me that you implemented a CRM system.
Yeah, we've played with a number of them over the years. And so we have over 430 members right now. So and a robust event schedule on average of about 2 a month right now. So because we have a large membership, and especially ours is corporate memberships, so the company is technically the member, but then individuals underneath, we can have as many individuals underneath that company as we like. And we actually try very purposefully to engage any number of individuals underneath the company to interact with us in various committees or events and what have you. Again, very purposefully, so that one contact, say, that you have, if they go somewhere else or they leave the country or whatever else, right, you lose all your relationship with that company because you only knew that one individual. So we also, again, made very purposeful moves to engage lots of people and lots of individuals in a company. Based on kind of where they're coming from, what their jobs are, to interact with, we've got this group over here, or this committee over here, or this council over here, right? And get them engaged that way. So that way we have kind of multiple contacts with a member, which again makes us more valuable as a strategic partner to that company as well. But we needed a CRM then that also could handle that kind of operate the database the way we use it. So that for us, we used we got a new one. I don't know if we're supposed to say it online.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not a pitch for them, but Growth Zone is the one we're using now. And I appreciate Growth Zone is a more high end maybe than some others, or it's certainly.
Much is it?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest. I know it is. It's certainly. I'll admit it's probably more expensive than a lot of other CRMs or membership databases out there. But for our needs and what we needed to do, and once we said, okay, you don't have to use a separate mailer, like mailing platform, and you don't have to use a separate whatever. That the numbers made sense for us, like just on what we were doing, because we have a larger membership. And a huge number of contacts, right? If our company is 420 or 430 companies, right? Our contact list in terms of individuals, right, is like 3 or 4 times that, right? So we needed something that would be able to do that. And then the benefit also is that also automated a lot of administrative stuff on the back end, both in terms of tracking what they do and how they interact, and what emails they open and what events they buy tickets to, right? But it also allows us to follow up with them, especially onboarding for new members, to say, hey, it's been a couple of weeks, it's been a month, how's it going? Have you done anything yet? It's been 3 months. Have you interacted with a committee yet? By the way, if you haven't, there's all, there's these various groups doing these various things. It's been 6 months. Have you gone to an event? Did you know the golf is coming up in a few months? Like that sort of, follow up. And then if we find that there is kind of very little engagement, then Sula goes and actually reaches out.
That's
amazing. To be like, hey, what is it, that you want to do here? Well, how can we help you achieve your goals? Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the questions we've started asking right at the beginning when you come on, of saying, okay, great, you're interested, you saw us on LinkedIn or whatever. What is it that you want to get out of it? What goals can we actually help you achieve? Mm-hmm. And then what's the appropriate venue or the forum to do that? Like if you're trying to, find business and it's particular types of business, it's builders or renovators or what have you, right? Mm-hmm. Well, these are the places to kind of go to get your, to make those connections. The other thing we really emphasize is, and I didn't make it up, but it's membership is in an association like ours, especially, it's like a gym membership, right? Where you don't join a gym membership and then the weight just automatically kind of falls off or you get stronger, right? Just for the virtue of paying your bill, right? You've got to go into put in the time and put in the effort. And associations, certainly an industry association, right, works kind of the same way as if you want to make connections, you've got to turn out to events, right? You've got to go to committee meetings or what have you. Get your face out there a little. Don't be afraid to strike up conversations and, build that relationship, right?
Yeah, I think one thing that I love that analogy, by the way. Like, this is amazing. I feel like I just wish I could just pay to lose weight, but it doesn't work that way. But I really like that analogy because even in the organization that I'm involved in, a lot of the time people are not engaged and they expect a lot from essentially the organization. But if you're not putting in the effort, it's just hard. Like, how can we engage you? No matter what events we put up, you never show up. You will never see value. That's just a reality.
Yeah. It's always hard to get members to kind of tell you what they want you to do to improve their lives.
Exactly.
Right. Like, I mean, you always, every association I'm sure asks, right, membership of, what do you still want us to do? Give us feedback on our event and what have you. And the feedback you get is usually very little. Yeah. So it can be very hard to kind of sow what is it that you want out of this but we try really hard, and oftentimes that comes down to individual contact.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Unfiltered Nonprofit listeners. It's Cherry Chen here, your host and the CEO of Otis Financial Solutions. Let's talk about something that can be a major headache for many nonprofits: managing your finances. Are you feeling overwhelmed by budgeting, financial reports, or keeping up with compliance? You're not alone. Many nonprofit leaders struggle with these issues too, but you don't have to. At Otis Financial Solutions, we specialize in making financial management easy for nonprofit leaders and associations leaders. For over 18 years, we've been turning financial stress into peace of mind. Our services are designed to meet your unique needs, from day-to-day bookkeeping to strategic financial planning. Imagine having more time to focus on your mission, knowing that your finances are in experts' hands. If that sounds like something you need, I'm offering a no-obligation 20-minute consultation. Let's discuss your challenges and explore how Otis can help you achieve your goals. Visit nonprofitcfo.ca to book your call today. Let's simplify your financial management together. And I think one thing that we talked about earlier before our show that you do, and you mentioned earlier as well, you guys do really well is the membership engagement and placing them and encouraging them into joining some sort of committees. And you have 10 committees. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and not me, I don't handle 10 myself. We have kind of 5 staff members at this point, including me. But yeah, there's kind of, policy and legislative regulation committees, right? Yep. There's a few hardcore technical committees of codes and what have you. Then there's some social committees, and there's awards programs committees. So it's kind of whatever your scope of work is in your business, right? There's usually a spot for you within the association. If you want to focus on land development, right? It's this group over here, right? Or if you're, whatever. But there's a number of touch points that you can kind of get into depending on what you're interested in, sales and marketing or whatever. And it's about kind of, giving you the contacts that will benefit your business in the end events. And sometimes, a lot of that is just the networking of other professionals who are doing the same thing you do in somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? We've really tried to, and the members are very good at being open and honest about what they do, how they're doing, their achievements and their struggles. They're having trouble with this. They're having trouble with this file or something over here, and why that's happening, or what the impediment is with the city or wherever else it's with, or the sales. The sales aren't coming in to the sales offices the same way as they used to, right? And maybe it's an issue in Canada and not in Orleans, or vice versa, right? And people are our groups foster a very kind of open discussion about such things, and you can learn from your professional colleagues about what's the best practice at the moment.
Yeah, that sounded just fitting perfectly into the reason why we're doing this podcast, and I want it to be essentially a mastermind on the go for people, nonprofit leaders in particular, to learn from each other, but without when they don't have enough time, and they can choose to listen to the podcast whenever they have the time to do it. And you mentioned earlier with these these committees that you are forming, there are different themes, so then people can pick and choose where they belong. And as an example, I remember you telling me that there is one that focuses on infill builder, and then there's one focusing on suburban area developer. So these are obviously two very distinct type of builders, because their challenges would be very different as well. So, and you also have one that's for the people that are on site, the local trade, so then they can join. And I think it's really smart, because you get different people from the same company joining different committees and engaging them in different levels.
Yeah, no, it's been very much of one committee. There's so much work on any individual committee. It can't speak to a huge, broad range of issues. It's really got to kind of each one has got to focus if they're going to be effective at all in kind of what they want to do. They've really got to kind of focus what their role is and the scope of work that they're going to do. So it does necessitate a bunch of different committees, but that has the side benefit then of interacting different individuals, right? Like in a home building company, your construction manager or your site supervisor is one person. They're going to be over, they have an opportunity for this other committee, but the person who's doing land development is over here, right? And then the marketing person is over here. And, it gives us a chance to really, I mentioned it earlier, but one of the things we've really tried to focus on is being seen more as a strategic partner with our members than just an association, and what can you do for us, or the collective, whereas we want to be seen as important as anybody else you engage on contract for home building. It's like engineers or lawyers or consultants or what have you. We want to be seen in that same vein of being an essential part of your business.
No, I think it's a great way to build that platform and allow the members to mastermind and solve the problems among themselves. And it's just creating that platform. And sometimes you just need someone else. I know it sounds easy. You just need that person or that organization to help you create that platform, because that's for the common good. Yeah, so kudos to you. No wonder you guys won the Builder Association of the Year. Okay, from the OAX survey as well, our people who fill out the survey are also seeing some pressure in terms of getting sponsorship money. And you earlier, when we discussed about sponsorship, generating sponsorship money, revenue, you have a very unique approach. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. Well, essentially, we kind of do the same in terms of membership engagement of, what do you want to get out of it? What are you here for? We kind of have those same conversations with sponsors. And it's very much we appreciate what is the audience that you're trying to reach out to. And that helps dictate, where we direct them to say, here, your best opportunity is here, right? We try very much to fit them into their best slot, as opposed to kind of, we have these slots over here and you must fit into one of them.
So you do the matchmaking based on what they need.
Yeah, right. Like, because again, there are lots of different events, right? Some are more social, some are more policy based, right? There's a whole bunch of different ones that go on, and there's some that are really big, some that are small, and they all have very different audiences, right? So it's very much who do you want to be in front of? Who do you what do you want to say? And I think the key is still very much FaceTime, of people's kind of emphasizing what we talked about before, of people coming in and getting striking up that conversation and what have you. We still find sponsorship is kind of that very tried and true. I want the opportunity to kind of get in front of people and tell them about myself or the company, tell them why we're different than our competitors, or what we're bringing to the table now is new and exciting, right? And give them that opportunity to open up that conversation, the conversation later on, right? Because ultimately you kind of want someone to do their spiel, and then have conversations after. After events, right, or in between, where people are kind of coming up to them and saying, "Oh, that was interesting. Like, I'm doing this, and do you think you could help me with whatever?" So we're still finding that that's still kind of the tried and true method to kind of go through it. And our sponsorship has been good. We've been pushing levels, I'll say, and I think now kind of where we went with it was. Oftentimes, I think associations and other organizations sort of undervalue what the level of sponsorships, and say, this is only this is $500, say, or whatever it is, and I think we sometimes have to have a more honest conversation ourselves. Is what is the value of that piece of promotion? And I bet you it's probably a lot higher than you think it is. And it's worth, if you're doing an event and say you have a title sponsor and you have a few more sponsors like that, if you sell all those out next year, raise those prices, like make it more like it's. Raise those prices a little. See where the market, you can kind of push that market, because that is the value of that promotion there, right? And if if people are turning out to your events, and we've had a significant increase in events over the past little bit, as more people get engaged, more there's more opportunity. We've been arguably aggressive on pricing for sponsorships, but that is the value of what we're doing right now, and the value of that event is increasing for that sponsor. So it's all the more important that's kind of where where that market is at the moment, and getting in front of the right people. And if you can kind of prove that you have value there, you price it correctly. And I think way too many of us, and I'm guilty of it myself, and again, this is where I defer to better experts than me, right? Of price it at the right spot. If you have a golf tournament, right, and you sell it out,
then you have room.
Room to bump up the ticket next time, right? And the events are still, I think, really, people are still kind of getting out of COVID a little right now. So events have become really popular again to socialize with. So you know what? That's non-dues revenue is always a critical piece of most of the organizations. And I think we're not confident enough in the value that we deliver to price it correctly.
Cool.
If I can say that in a nice way.
Okay, so that is a lot of great tips. I think I've learned a few things, and I want to go back and tell my other client who's struggling with selling sponsorship at the moment, and those are great tips. Now, I want to end our conversation and be respectful of your time as well, by asking one last question.
Sure, of course.
Last one is the mental health. So a lot of leaders are struggling, and people don't talk about their own struggle, unfortunately, and which is also partly the reason why I'm creating this platform, so that they can also see other people struggle and they know that they're not alone. So you shared that your biggest challenge was that you're down to that one person, and probably in that particular week it was a very dark place for you, right?
Right.
So mentally, what are you doing for your mental health, and what are you doing to maintain that smile that you have constantly?
Very good question. I would say admittedly, I probably don't even do enough now. I think very often, I think it's been even just this year, it's been a very busy period between Easter, right, through till we just recently had an Eastern Ontario Housing Summit at the beginning or at the end of May. And that was like an extraordinarily busy time. And pushing through that. And I probably don't sometimes give enough time away from things. It's very hard to divorce yourself from the office when you're kind of juggling so many balls in the air. And I think it's a bit of accepting the busy times, but then accepting maybe less busy times, I'll call it. And I mean, my wife gets frustrated with me all the time of when it's, I don't feel like, and some days are, I don't feel like I accomplished very much today. When in fact, you probably did a lot. It's not 20 things, it was 12 things. But you know what? 12 things is pretty darn good in the reality of it, right? And it's terrible because I think we all know what to tell our own staff to do. Take the time, take your lunch, whatever, give flexible time. A joke is no one's going to give you a medal for missing lunch, right? And but it's so, and I am probably the one who needs to learn my own lessons probably the very most. But a big push of what we do is just flexibility in terms of time management, of just like, I'm not worried about people being chained to their desk 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. I'm just as long as you're getting your whatever tasks that that you need to get done, they're getting done. As long as members and whomever aren't complaining that you're not reachable or you're falling behind, then I'm not really bothered by how many hours you're devoting to it. If you need to take off, whatever, I'm not approving hours for doctor's appointments or even personal time with whatever. You have a child and you want to take the Thursday afternoon off or whatever. Have at it. We try to be really super flexible that way, in order to hopefully give people some more of that work-life balance, admittedly. And just not be so worried about the number of hours, and just are the things we want to achieve getting achieved? Well, then let's be happy with that, and just again, give people the autonomy to say, to know how much effort they need to put in, and to achieve, the goals we have. And again, some days demand 12 hours, other days don't. I kind of hope maybe it balances out it washes out in the end. It's very much, I'm the one who now has to kind of, we've had this busy period for 2 months. I'm the one who's now got to be like, no, I'm going to go to, I'm going to a conference in Winnipeg next week, but I'm going to take, 2 days before that to enjoy Winnipeg, just on my own. I think my biggest secret is I move, this is going to be silly, but maybe I feel like you might appreciate, I move the email icon on my phone. So when I go on vacation, I have an iPhone, and my on the bottom is the four standard ones that are all the time, right? And my email icon's right there. So I have muscle memory of just you flick on your phone, my thumb immediately hits the button. So when I go on vacation, or when I'm like, I have to divorce for the day or whatever, I physically move that icon into a folder that you have to take a couple of steps to get to. So and that is how I so I don't check email.
Detach yourself.
And when I tell staff, I might send you stuff at all hours, but don't, I don't expect anybody to respond after hours. And I mean, sometimes they're as bad as I do, and sometimes we exchange, emails of stop working, and you stop working too. So we do that as well. But yeah, funnily, it's certainly valuing the time, to give yourself a bit of break and allow yourself to kind of de-stress from it. And that takes a while. You're all going, you give yourself time to ramp down, and then time to relax, and then time to ramp back up, right? It's that kind of piece is critical. And again, you know what? I can't say enough about moving the email button.
No, that was a great tip. It's practical and it's useful. That's how I deleted Instagram, I deleted YouTube off my phone or move it around so I don't know where it is. It takes me a couple of buttons. Like it has been proven in like lots of productivity podcasts that you need to hide these things or disable them in certain times. And 100%. People just don't talk about it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jason.
Anytime.
That was very helpful, and I really appreciate you coming down, sharing all your insights.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. As we wrap up, I want to share a bit more about what we do at Otis Financial Solutions. For the past 18 years, Otis Financial Solutions has been dedicated to enhancing the financial management and strategic planning capabilities of hundreds of associations and nonprofits across Canada. Our extensive experience has enabled us to deliver tailored financial solutions that drive growth and enhance sustainability for nonprofits and associations. If you are interested in learning more about how Otis Financial Solutions can support your organization, I would love to offer you a no-obligation 20-minute call. Let's discuss your unique challenges and explore how we would be able to help you achieve your goals.